Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Namo Gurubhyaha. So we were looking at the 10th verse in the 4th Brahmana of the first chapter. So here the discussion was about the Jnanam and the Jnana Phalam. So the Upanishad said that even the Devas do not have the capability to stop the Jnana Phalam. Once someone gains this knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi iti, that I am nothing but this limitless Brahman, then that person becomes the self of all, tat sarvam abhavat. Okay, so this nobody can stop. Even the Devas do not have the capability to stop that. Now in that context, the Purvapakshi said that all this Jnana Phalam you are talking about, correct, which is the result of the destruction of ignorance. Now there was a question which was raised, which cognition destroys the ignorance, the first one, last one, or a flow of all these cognitions. Now in this context, Bhashyakara told that whichever cognition results in the destruction of ignorance and its effects, that we take as Jnanam. There is no rule that it has to be the first one or the last one, or it has to be in a flow, or it need not be in a flow. Those things are not relevant here. Okay. It can be any one of those things depending on one's qualifications. So there was a question that even a jnani is seeing the ajnana karya even after the jnana has happened. Okay, so I have the knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the limitless, I am this Advitiyam Brahma, I am this non-dual Brahman, non-dual limitless consciousness, that is myself. But then if you are non-dual limitless consciousness, why are you seeing the world? How can you be a teacher? Okay. So we have to accept that even a jnani sees the world, and world is nothing but an effect of this ignorance only, not knowing oneself. So how can one see this ajnana karya and still be a jnani? Or still you can claim that the ignorance has vanished. So for this, Bhashyakara says that this world and this body, of course, as long as the body is there, one has to be in the world, one has to see the world, one has to transact in the world. So this body itself is the result of karma which has already fructified or which has started fructifying. Okay. So we all take this body with prarabdha karma, the karma which has started fructifying and which is giving us all the pleasant and unpleasant experiences in this life. So for every life, we start with some karma. Their accumulated karma is beginningless. It is sanchita. The accumulated karma, lots and lots and lots, we cannot quantify it. It is there. Out of that, some karma has been earmarked for this life, and that karma has already started fructifying. So that will not be affected by the knowledge. Okay. But all the other karma, the accumulated karma and whatever karma you have gained in this life also before you gained this knowledge, all that will be gone, because the ignorance which is the cause of that karma itself is gone. But even though the ignorance is gone, the effect which has already fructified, it will be there for some time. Like I gave you the analogy, Bhashyakara gives the analogy of Mukta Ishuvat. So he says it is like the arrow which has already left the bow. Then what can you do? Okay, it has already left, and it will go for some time till the friction or whatever other forces stop it, and then it will fall. Similarly, or we can take the example of the switch and the fan nowadays. Okay, so even though you have switched off and cut off the current, which is the cause of the rotation of the fan which has already started rotating, it will take some time for it to stop, correct? Because that already some motion has been applied, the force has been applied, and the motion is the result of that force. So that applied force, till it comes to a, again, still it is neutralized by some friction and all that, it will be there, that motion will be there, the effect of that applied force, that will not go away just because you have switched off something. Okay, so that is the analogy we give here. So Bhashyakara also gives that analogy and then finally concludes that. So I have now told you that even samyak jnanantarameva sharirapata abhavaha kasmat. Okay, that means even after clear knowledge that aham brahmasmi iti, that I am this limitless Brahman, non-dual Brahman, even though that knowledge is there, the body does not fall. So why? Because the body is the result of karma which has already started fructifying, and it will be there till that karma is exhausted. Okay, so that reason I have already given here, the reason for the body not falling, like this Bhashyakara has summarized. And he also says that the Veda itself is giving you, because the Jnanam itself is through the Veda Pramana only. And Jnana Phalam, the effect of the results of knowledge also, only Veda has to tell us. Because the knowledge itself is revealed by Veda, it is not available through any means of knowledge, any other means of knowledge. The results of this knowledge also only Veda has to say, and Veda itself is saying that whatever karma you have done before in all the lives which you have had and accumulated, lot of karma, all that karma is gone. Okay, and similarly whatever karma you have done in this life and accumulated also, that also is gone. Okay, the accumulated karma and the karma which is to fructify later, all that is gone. But whatever is currently fructifying, that will continue. Like this, the Shruti itself is telling that. Now Bhashyakara is quoting different Shrutis, interesting Shrutis. Okay, Kshiyante chasya karmani. Okay, this is Mundaka Upanishad. Bhidyate hridaya grantihi chidyante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. That is the Vakya quoted here from Mundaka. Bhidyate hridaya grantihi. Now what is the hridaya grantihi here? So Bhashyakara, if you go and read the Mundaka Bhashya, in that commentary, Bhashyakara is saying hridaya granthi is nothing but kama. Kama only is hridaya shrayaha. Even in later in the Brihadaranyaka itself it will come. These desires, kama, they are having as their locus your buddhi. Hridaya here is buddhi only. Understand that. The word hridaya also is used. Manas, buddhi, hridaya, all these things are used in different contexts. They all mean the same. So here, kama, desires, they are all destroyed. Vidyate. What is the meaning of that? See, desires themselves are a Shakti. Bhagavan, see, this desire is a big problem in the spiritual world. Okay, everybody says, give up all your desires. Okay, and that person himself or herself has the desire that you have to listen to whatever that person has said. That is the irony there. So I go and say, give up all your desires. Now, what is my desire? I want you to listen to my words. So how do you explain that? So desire in itself is not a problem. Just because you have a certain pursuit for this moksha, freedom. Do we have to give up all desires? Means then you cannot have the desire to live also. Should we commit suicide? So that is not the point. In fact, Bhagavan, what does Bhagavan say? Bhagavan in the Bhagavad Gita clearly says, okay, what does he say? He says that dharma viruddha kamosmi bharatarshapha, dharma aviruddha kamaha asmi. I am manifest in you as the desire which is not opposing dharma, dharma aviruddha. That means the desire which is in keeping with dharma is nothing but a manifestation of Ishvara, Bhagavan's manifestation in you. Okay? Because Bhagavan only is manifest as everything, correct? The entire Srishti is nothing but a manifestation of Bhagavan. It's all different orders. And desire in you also is part of that order. And as long as your desires are in keeping with the order, Ishvara's order, they are all manifestations of Ishvara only. But then Ishvara also is in his own order given you this free will. It is really free will only if you have the freedom to abuse it. Understand that. Anything is free in the sense not like without money or anything, but free in terms of freedom. If you have total freedom, only if you have the freedom to use and freedom to abuse. So Bhagavan has given you this free will. That means you have the freedom to use it and lead a life according to the order which is there already. There is a physical order, chemical order, biological order, physiological order, moral order also is there. So the moral order is the problem. Everyone knows what is right, wrong. Okay, ignorance is not a defense even in regular law. You cannot go to court and say, Your Honor, I did not know that driving the car on the left hand side is mistake. I go to US, let us say. I am from India. In India, I drive my car on the left side of the road. So left side is the right in India. Now I go to US, there left side is not right, right side is right, left side is wrong. So I go on the left side and the cop catches me. Then he takes me to the judge. So I cannot claim, Your Honor, I am from India. I did not know your laws. Please, I was ignorant. Then what will the judge say? Ignorance is not a valid defense. Ignorance is not a valid defense anywhere. Understand that. In fact, we all know what is right and wrong in a general way, because whatever you want others to do to you, this is called golden rule also, correct? You don't require any Veda, religion or anything to come and tell you this. This is common sense. Whatever others want to do to you or you want others to do to you, and you also know that others expect the same thing from you. So you also have to behave similarly, correct? In keeping with that. That much is Samanya Dharma. That much is general. Then more than that, Vishesha Dharma also is there. Desha Kala also you have to take into account where you are, what is the time. Based on that, so the Vishesha Dharma, even if you do not know, you have the responsibility to know. Understand that. That's why even there, ignorance is not a defense. So specific rules are there in different countries, in different places at different times. Those also you have the responsibility to know. And even Taittiriya Upanishad in another context says, okay, Even if you are confused about what is dharma or adharma, you have the responsibility to go to your elders, shishtas, okay, or those who are knowledgeable. In fact, those who will give you advice, giving your good, keeping your good in mind, not their own good. Okay, it even says that much. So you should go and take advice from whom? That also Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, it says beautifully, it says, go to those people who are dharma kamaha, dharma kamasyuhu, like that it says. Those who are dharma kamaha, those who are interested in telling the right thing to you, they do not have anything there, correct? Their own interest or conflict of interest should not be there. Go and seek their advice. So you have the duty to know what is right. So anyway, the point here, what I am trying to say is, we all have this power of desiring. That is the manifestation of Ishvara. In fact, we have Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti. Like the three powers we have. The power to desire, the power to know, the power to do. These powers are all given to us, correct? As soon as we are born and we grow up, and then these powers are there with us. It is given. In fact, it is a privilege. In fact, we have to look upon the ability to desire as a privilege, because only human beings can desire for many things, correct? Only a human being can desire for iPhone. Okay. In fact, it becomes a crazy attachment if somebody is ready to sell their kidney to buy an iPhone. But we see such news also. Okay. That somebody sold his kidney so that he can get enough money to buy an iPhone. And I don't know how long that iPhone is going to last. Anyway, but that is a crazy desire. But anyway, we can have a desire for iPhone. A cow cannot have a desire for iPhone, correct? Or a cow cannot go to the bull and say, honey, we'll go and have Chinese dinner today or something like that, or Italian. So animals have only limited power to desire, but we have a lot more power to desire. Okay, so desire as a power given to us by Ishvara, it is there. But whether we use it or misuse it is with us. When you are using it properly, means you are going along with the order of Ishvara, Dharma Aviruddha Kama. That is the Dharma Aviruddha Kama. But then when it becomes Dharma Viruddha Kama, the desire, see, nobody has any conflict in life as long as your desires are also right, correct? But the problem is whatever I desire is either illegal, immoral, or calorific, somebody said, correct? So then it is a problem, because you know that something is wrong, but still you have an attachment, desire. Then it becomes a Dharma Viruddha Kama. And then you go along with that desire. Means you do something wrong, means the papa. You have to have papa. Of course, immediately Drishtaphalam also is there. You have guilt, you have fear. What if somebody catches me, I have done something wrong? And then you also have papa, you have gained Adrishtaphala, because every action has two results, correct? According to our tradition, according to the Veda, every action has two results. One result is Drishtaphala. Whatever I see, immediately I see that, I experience it. That is Drishtaphala. So I do something good, I feel good also. I feel good about myself. Even though I may have spent my money and my time and all that, but somebody was in some difficulty, I need not have even helped them. But I went out of the way and helped somebody, and I feel good about it. Actually, I lost my money and time, but still I am feeling good. Because I know that I have done something correct. Because in the same situation, if I was and some other person was there in my situation, I would have expected that person to help me. Similarly, now I have helped somebody, even though they may have not asked, or they were in a situation where they were not even in a position to ask for help, but still you help somebody. And whether they appreciate you or not is another thing, but you still feel good. That is the Drishtaphala. But if you do that You also have punya. You do the right thing, you gain punya. You do the wrong thing, you gain. Of course, Drishtaphalam also is there, guilt, fear. Then you have Adrishtaphala, papa. So this punya papa is always there whenever you do any karma, along with the immediate experience of whatever results are there. Now, the problem with all this desire is that the desire itself becomes a problem when you think that you are a wanting person. If the desire is born out of the vision that you are a limited individual, wanting, in whichever way you look at yourself, you are limited. So you are wanting, all the time wanting, because you are not able to accept yourself as you are. So the fundamental problem of a human being is one of self non-acceptance. And if the desire is born out of this self non-acceptance, that seeing oneself as a wanting person, and from that the desire is born. Now you want to fulfill some want. Means desires are all only reinforcing your limitations. Remember that. If you have a binding desire, if you think that by fulfilling this desire only I can be happy, or I can get rid of some want, means the implication of that is this desire is implying that you are a limited individual being. So desire is against jnanam. Understand that, because desire itself is a result of ajnanam. Ajnanam is seeing oneself as a limited being, and desire is a result of that. And not only a result of that, it reinforces the same vision, the ignorance more. So from the standpoint of jnanam, any binding desire is really reinforcing only ignorance. But desire can still be there because due to prarabdha also, preferences are there for everybody. Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakriter jnanavanapi. Like that Bhagavan says in the Gita, 3rd chapter, he says, Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakriter jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. So even for a jnani, this one's nature is there, correct? You are born, I am born in South India, means I like idli. You cannot do anything about it. I am not very particular about bread and all that, because we eat bread only when somebody is sick. in our place, if somebody is having bread, means that person is sick. In fact, you go to North India, they will have rice, khichdi, only when somebody is sick. But we have rice every day. We have idli every day. Correct? They have roti. They cannot live without roti, wheat and bread and all that. That is there. That is something, your nature, and it will be there even for a jnani. Preferences will be there, but nothing is binding. Even if it is not there, it's okay. Correct? So what? For anything, it is so what only. Correct? So this desire is a problem. It is the one which is binding your buddhi. Okay, this binding desire, which is reinforcing your limitations, that is all only pointing to the ignorance, and that is destroyed. Vidyate hridaya granthi. Because you don't look upon yourself anymore as a wanting person, then there is no cause for there to be any desire, correct? I am already complete, full, purnaha, aham purnaha. I am the whole, complete in all respects. I am not a wanting person in any way. I am the limitless conscious being. So I don't need to fulfill anything to be happy. I don't have to desire for anything or fulfill or do anything to be happy. I am happy as I am because I am the source of all happiness. Ananda Swarupaha. For such a person, desires are all as though they are already fulfilled. Okay, so even Taitriyam also says that. Soshnute sarvan kamaan saha. So the one Brahmavida apnoti param, like that it starts. Then it says, Saha ashnute sarvan kama. This person, the Brahmavid, the one who has known Brahman, has fulfilled all desires. And Saha there means Yugapat. Simultaneously, as soon as you know yourself as the limitless, it is as good as you have fulfilled all your desires. Why? Because you don't look upon yourself anymore as a wanting person. You are not a wanting person anymore. You are not lacking in anything. Beyond that, whatever is there is all prarabdha. It is all coming out of your own fullness. Correct? That is different. That is in fact pure expression of Ishvara only. Ishvara as the dharma aviruddha kamaha, manifestation of Ishvara. So, for this person, the jnani vidyate hridaya grantihi chidyante sarva samshayaha, all the doubts. For a normal person, there are always doubts. What will happen to me after I die? Where will I go? Will I go to Swarga or Naraka? Or even in this life, what am I going to do? Tomorrow, what is going to happen? Corona will affect me or not? Day after tomorrow, what will happen? All these worries are there for ajnanis. Jnani has no problem. Okay, no doubts also about anything else. Because Jnani is Atma Ratihi, Atma Kridaha. Jnani is rejoicing in himself, herself, in oneself. There is nothing else to be done or achieved externally. So there is no doubt also about anything else, about one's own fate and all that, what will happen to me, etc. I am not even subjected to space-time. So why should I even worry about what will and all that has no meaning really. Past tense, present tense, future tense and all is only tense. People can become tensed about all these things, but for a jnani it is no tense. Okay. So there is no samshaya. There is no doubts. There is no anxiety. And finally what? Shiyante chasya karmani. For that person all karmas are also gone. So for a jnani from his own standpoint, jnani does not look upon oneself as a karta bhokta. So actually speaking, even prarabdha karma also, for a jnani from his own standpoint, it is not there. Understand that? No karma is there. But still the body is there and the vyavahara is happening. And therefore we have to say that this prarabdha karma is continuing. And then only there will be a Guru Shishya Parampara and all that. So it makes sense that way. So strictly from one's own standpoint, no karma is there for a jnani. So kshiyante cha asya karmani, all the karmas for this person, they are also destroyed. They are eroded, gone. There is no karma. When tasmin drishte para avare, param here means the cause of everything, Brahman. And avaram means the effect, the world. But world is not separate from Brahman. Understand that. So one who has seen the nature of this world and the cause of the world, which is nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma, and that nature is not separate from oneself. For that person, there is no karma. Kshiyante cha asya karmani. Then what? Chandogya here, 6:14-2. Tasya tavadeva chiram yavanna vimokshe atha sampatsye. So this is again a very interesting story is there. In fact, the 6:14, 1 and 2, it talks, the Upanishad actually tells a story. Okay, what is that story? That there was one person, okay, he is from Gandhara Desha. But what happened, poor guy, he was picked up by some thieves. Okay, Taskara. So all these thieves, what did they do? They just blindfolded that guy, tied his hands and legs, took away all his stuff, whatever he had, and took him into some forest far away from Gandhara Desha and threw him away in the forest, tied, bound, and also blindfolded. And then what happens? That person, now he is shouting all, he doesn't know even Dik Brahmaha he is. He doesn't know which direction. All over he is shouting. He stands this side, he shouts. Then he turns, he is shouting, hey, help me. Somebody, whoever is there, please help me. I have been robbed. My hands are tied. My eyes are blindfolded. Like that, this person, poor guy, he is shouting in all directions. Then what happens? Some kind guy, even though in fact he is in a forest, nobody normally goes through that way. Okay, he is in a place where no normal traffic is not there. But somebody heard this person. One kind person came. He removed all the ropes which are tying that person. Removed his blindfold also. And then he says, now I am from Gandhara Desha, how do I go? Then he says, okay, you take this way north. Your Gandhara Desha is north from here. And on the way, you can go to this place and then ask people and they will guide you and all that. So he goes to different in between different villages. He asks people and then he finally reaches Gandhara Desha. Okay. Like that, Bhashya, this Upanishad is now comparing this with the life of a samsari. Samsari is really Brahman, correct? Infinite, limitless. But then samsari is dragged by this ignorance and its effects. Then starts a life of becoming, correct? You are blinded by the ignorance. You are bound by all the limitations which you see in yourself. And you are struggling. And you are also having all this sorrow. Oh Lord, help me. I am in sorrow. I am having this problem, that problem. Every day when I get up, I see only problems. Please help me. I am so weak. I don't know what to do. Then a compassionate guru comes. Bhashyakara says. In fact, in that sentence itself, it comes before this Tasya Tavadevacharam Acharyavan Purusho Veda. It is there. Okay, the one who has an Acharya, that person knows. And for that person only, it is now saying Tasya Tavadevacharam means what is the meaning of that, I'll tell you. But anyway, the story is like this. So the samsari is also like a person who is bound and blindfolded in the forest, struggling, shouting. Then this compassionate guru comes, teaches that person, and of course that person also should have a certain qualification in terms of understanding that one's life of becoming is never going to come to an end by just karma phala, correct? By just getting results of action. All results of action are only finite. You cannot add up finite and arrive at infinity. So that's not really the solution for me. So you should have a certain dispassion towards the results of action, knowing that it's not going to solve your fundamental problem. For such a person, this guru can help teach him the truth of oneself. And for that person, tasya, because this is part of the sadvidya. Sadeva somya idamagre asid ekameva dvitiyam. And then tattvamasi sa atma. Atma tattvamasi, that atma which is sadvastu, which is satyam, sadeva satyam also the Chandogya Upanishad says. Sadvastu alone, which is the karana, which is the jagat karanam, which is the cause of this entire world, that alone is satyam. Satyam means what? That alone is there with its unchanging nature as the conscious being. okay, which is there always as it is. Because Satyam is an ontological term. Sat here means the cause of the entire world, that which gives existence to everything. And that Sadvastu, that existence alone is Satyam, is the truth. Truth here means what? That which cannot be negated in all three periods of time. Once you have ascertained it to be of a particular nature, that nature never changes. It can never be negated. Once you have known it as it is, that alone is Satyam. Okay, that Satyam, that Sadvastu is you. You have known that. Then Upanishad says still that person is there, correct? Leading a life. And then till the time the body is there. Once the body also falls, that person becomes one with that Sadvastu, Atha Sampatsye. Again, Bhashyakara there in the Bhashya also he mentions that. So this Jnani, he became Jnani, means all the karma is gone. All this and whatever karma which is supposed to fructify later, all that karma is destroyed. But still the prarabdham karma is there. The karma which has started this body, it is there till the body falls off. And then that person is one with Sadvastu only. Atha Sampatsye. That means he doesn't come back. There is no more Janma. Jnani becomes one with the Sadvastu. Videha Mukti is talked about. Till the time body is there, he is Jivan Mukta. And after the body falls, then he becomes Videha Mukta. He is one with the Sadvastu only. And there is no gap or anything in all these things again. Okay, Atha means Anantaryartham. After how much time there can be a question? No time or anything. Till the body is there also, that person is Sadvastu only. When the body is gone, then one with the Sadvastu, identical. So Tasya Tavadeva Chiram, it takes only so much time till the body is there for that person to become identical with Sadvastu. That's what it says, the Chandogya Upanishad. After telling the story of this Gandhara person getting lost in the forest, then Sarve Papmanaha Praduyante Chandogya again. So again this Chandogya 5th chapter talks about a Vaishwanara Vidya. So the regular Agnihotri, every day somebody is doing Agnihotra. So Avidwan is also doing Agnihotra. There is a phala for that. You will go to Swarga. Okay, there is a punya for doing Agnihotra. And in fact, in Mundaka Upanishad also it says, when you go to the Swarga, all this punya will welcome, it seems. It will welcome and guide you to your place and all that. It is showing, it is said like that. So the Avidwan is doing all this karma, Agnihotra, to go to some loka, to enjoy and all that. But the Vaishwanara Vidwan, the one who knows oneself as everything, Vaishwanaraha, that person also does Agnihotra, but in his Agnihotra, he sacrifices all the lokas, everything it seems. Everything is gone. Only he then becomes the self of everybody. Like that, the Agnihotra of the Vaishwanara Vidwan is talked about. How it is different from the regular Agnihotra done by a ignorant person. And that person, for him what? Sarve Papmanaha Praduyante. All the papas, that person is freed from. Papa here means punya and papa, both we have to take. Dharma and adharma. So for such a person, the jnani, nothing. There is no papa or punya. Similarly, even Brihadaranyaka 4.4.23, tam viditva na lipyate karmana papakena. Tam here means padavittam, like that it comes. Tam. So here the mahima of Brahman is talked about. The glory of knowing this Brahman. And for such the person who has known Brahman, his glory does not come down because of some papa, or his glory does not increase because he is doing some punya, it seems. Like that it says. And then he says, for this person who has known this glory of Brahman, or glory of oneself, in fact, one who has known this Brahman, glorious Brahman as oneself, for that person, okay, tam, what having known, viditva, having known this Brahman as oneself, na lipyate, that person having known is not caught or is not drowned or touched. What? By karma. Papa kena. Here also Bhashyakara in the Bhashya says, Papa here really means dharma and adharma both. Both are Papa for the Vidwan. Okay. Punya, Papa, both are Papa only. Because both of them reinforce your limitations only. Whether you are going to get pleasant experience or unpleasant experience, the implication is you are a karta bhokta. You are doer and enjoyer. But in reality, you are not neither a doer nor an enjoyer. So all this punya papa, everything is really papa only for a vidwan from the standpoint of the knower of Brahman, and that knower of Brahman is not touched by any of these things. 4.4.23. 4.4.22 also. This is a very big vakya. We'll see that, very interesting also. This is where the sannyasa and all is talked about. Putraishanayascha, Vitteshanaya, Lokeshanayascha, Vyuthaya, Vikshacharyam, Charanti and all that. Even Neti Neti, all that is there. So here Etam means what? Again, this person. Who is this person here? When we say Etam, means the person who has dispassion, correct? Who has seen through all the worldly pursuits, that who is not interested in a son, okay, in children in general, or in going to any loka and all that, and who has known oneself by doing this atma anatma viveka, neti neti. So whatever I see is not me, correct? Whatever I know is not I. So this is not me, not me, not me, not me, not me. Anything which you know is not you, because you are the eternal subject. In fact, you are not even the eternal subject, because the status of being a subject also is only with reference to an object. Once you know that all objects are nothing but mithya, they come and go, they are all subjected to space-time. But you are the invariable who is cognizing space-time also. Even space-time becomes evident to you. It's only an object of your knowledge. You are the conscious, limitless conscious being. And for you, so whatever is known is not really I. Like that you have known Atma, Anatma, Viveka. You are very clear about what is Atma, what is Anatma, and finally Anatma becomes Mithya. Anatma also has its existence only in Atma, both subject and object. The content of the subject and object is nothing but consciousness. The content of every cognition is consciousness, in fact. Correct? Each and every cognition resolves into you, the conscious being who is the invariable in every cognition. But the sad thing is we miss that. We take the cognizer for granted. The consciousness which is invariable in every cognition is missed. It is like missing the light. Light is the one which is shining, and because of which we see so many objects. But you miss to see that, and instead because you are engrossed in the objects which are shining by the light. Like that, this consciousness, which is the invariable in each and every cognition, it is not only the invariable, it is the content also of all the cognition. Because that alone is there really. Everything resolves into that. And that consciousness is you. And the one who knows that, the one who knows oneself as this limitless consciousness, for that person, what? This papa and punya, etamu ha eva, ete na tarataha. So these two things, ete, do not overtake this person. Overtaken means they do not reach him, they do not touch him, or he does not get them, papa and punya. The two things are what? In fact, the Upanishad will continue and explain. It will say that same thing here. Why did I not do good things? Why did I do wrong things? Because at the end, everybody is thinking like that. Most people at the time of death, they suddenly have this feeling, I think, or at least that way we have heard, correct? At the time of death, suddenly everybody, till then they think that they are invincible and all that. But at that time, I think they recognize their own limitations. And then all these omissions and commissions come into the picture. Why did I not do this good thing? Or it even comes if somebody close to you dies. Correct? Death brings all these thoughts. Somebody close to you dies, then you think, I was so mean to that person. Why did I could have been better. Okay, that person was bad, he was abusing me and all that, but still, I should have had a bigger heart. I could have accommodated all these feelings. Why did I not do the right thing? Why did I do the wrong thing? Also fear. I did not do the right thing. Or some people have even some pride. I did the right thing, so I'll go to heaven. He's now looking forward to heaven. Or I did the wrong thing, he's in fear. What if I go to hell? All this Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Patala, and all is talked about. You read Garuda Purana and it is giving graphic description of all these hells. Different levels of hell are there. If we can translate Naraka as hell, but in fact, we can leave Naraka as Naraka, I think. So 7 levels of Naraka are there, and all kind of torture one is undergoing there, let us say. So now you are afraid, I did all these wrong things in my life. Now both these things do not reach this person. Etam uha is just indeed, like that. For it is an emphasis. Eva etena tarataha. These two things, this punya and papa, all these omissions and commissions do not reach this person, touch this person. This person does not obtain any of those things, do not get it. In fact, later on in the same Vakya, it says, in the end, Nainam krita krite tapataha. So, Enam, again, this person, na tapataha, this person does not, tapataha literal means these two do not burn this person. Burn means tapa, tap, dhatu means to burn. Also, one meaning is there. So, here, burn means what? Distress. Do not distress this person. Do not cause sorrow to this person. What? Kritaha. So the whatever karma you have done, that does not cause any problem to you. You do not have any guilt or fear or anything. And whatever you have not done also, krita akrite. Because krita, even let us say you are a very dharmic person, means you are doing all your nitya karma correctly. But the nitya karma has you don't do your nitya karma, means for a ajnani akarane pratyavayaha, like that it is said in the tradition. What is that? If you do not do your nitya karma, whatever is to be done, if you do not do, then you will have what is known as pratyavaya dosha. Pratyavaya dosha means, what is the idea behind that is, if you do not do what is to be done, you will be doing what is not to be done, because you cannot keep quiet. The nature of human being is that you are always doing something or the other. That's why Bhagavan always talks about phalatyaga. Even in Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna that you cannot keep quiet because that is your nature. Being a Kshatriya and you have come all the way up to the battlefield, can you think that now you think that you can become quiet and let everything become a sannyasi right in the battlefield? No, that is not your nature. So most people cannot just sit. That is proved even in this lockdown, I think. Most people are stressed just sitting at home. Even many of my friends, college friends and all, they are complaining about that. They are going crazy sitting at home. So being without doing anything is the biggest problem, I think. Okay. So one cannot be not doing anything, then do the right thing. At least what is to be done, keep doing it every day. Otherwise, what will happen? You will end up doing what is not to be done. Then you will have papa. But for this person, the jnani, krita akrite na tapataha yenam, this person is not burned by either papa or punya or anything. He's not touched by that. Because he doesn't look upon oneself as a karta. That is the main thing here. And in Taittiriya, very famous vakya, this also. Etagum hava vana tapati. So this is part of the Anandavalli in Taittiriya Upanishad. So this is a very famous vakya there. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidwan na bibheti kadachaneti etagum hava vana tapati kimaham sadhuna karavam kimaham papama karavam iti sayevam vidyanete atmanagsprinute ubhehye vaishayete atmanagsprinute evam veda ityupanishat. Like that it goes. It ends. In fact, that Valli ends with this. This is the end, last vakya in that chapter, second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad. So there Brahman is said, it is said that from Brahman, both the words and mind, because words and cognition, two things are there, correct? So you cognize something and then you associate it with some word. This is part. Then afterwards what happens? Whenever you hear the word, its meaning also is there always with it. That's why even Kalidasa says, Vagartha viva sampriktau. Ishvara and Parameshwara and Parvati are like the word and the meaning. They are always together. Because once you know the meaning of a word, whenever that word is used, it is always there with the meaning. So there is a word gives a certain cognition. Word and cognition go together. But the problem is what with Brahman? Brahman is not the meaning of any one word, and it cannot be cognized as an object also. So when you are teaching Brahman, what is the most difficult thing about this teaching or this knowledge? Although it is really simple. The subject matter of Vedanta, I can teach you within 1 week or even in 1 day if you are ready. Or for any reasonable person, it should not, the entire Vedanta subject matter can be taught within a month, let me say. It's not very difficult. We can teach you all the different things, all the questions, answers, everything can be answered. But then why it is difficult to know? Because you are knowing yourself. The self cannot be objectified. And the self is limitless. That means it cannot be the meaning of any one word. But still I have to teach you with word only. I have to teach you with words that you are not the meaning of any one word. That you cannot be objectified and known as this. Because you are the one who is objectifying, correct? So I have to reveal to you the nature of yourself. The self in fact is always available. You don't even have to use any means of knowledge to know yourself that you are there. But still there are wrong notions about yourself. That has to be negated. That's why in fact mostly Vedanta is only negation. Once you negate all the wrong notions, you are as you are, correct? That is known. There is no problem with that. So in fact, Bhashyakara himself agrees that even in Mandukya Bhashya, even in Brahma Sutra Bhashya, I think, the teaching is really negative only. Neti neti. It's only negating all your wrong notions. Ignorance is gone, that means. Then you are self-revealing, self-existent Atma. The Veda is not really establishing the Atma. In fact, Veda is only removing ignorance about the Atma. Then Atma shines in its own glory. Sve mahimne tishtati. In its own glory, it is there. So, this Brahman is not the meaning of any one particular word, because if it becomes the meaning of any one word, it will become limited. But it is the meaning of all the words, we have to say. That looks contradictory then. But that's how it is, correct? It is not the meaning of any one word, but in fact, it's really the meaning of all the words. It cannot be cognized as an object, because it is both the object and the subject. It transcends both the subject-object, and it can never be objectified, because there is no another consciousness to objectify this consciousness. So that Brahman, which is not accessible to both words and mind, but still has to be known with your mind only. And the one who knows that Brahman, Anandam Brahmano Vidwan, then he knows that I am the limitless, I am the source of all happiness, I do not lack anything, I am limitless. Ananda, that is the Ananda. Brahmanaha Vidwan Anandaha. Brahmanaha Vidwan itself, Brahman itself is Jnanam only, Jnana Swarupa and Ananda Swarupa. It is of the very nature of happiness, joy. And that Brahman, once you know that, there is no fear. In fact, there is no second thing. There is no bhaya karana. Kata. So, na vibheti kutaschaneti. Kutaschana, from anything you don't fear. Why? Because there is no another thing, in fact. There is no bhaya karanam. There is no second thing which can be the cause of your fear. Only you are there. But if you see a second thing, udaram antaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati. Same Taittiriya says. If you see, by mistake you see a second thing, you divide a little bit and see a second thing, means then what? Atatasya bhayam bhavati. There is fear. Even Brihadaranyaka we saw before. Only when there is no real second thing, there is no question of any fear. And for such a person, yetam ha bhava, indeed, again here, for this person, yetam na tapati, that person is not burnt by what? Again, kimaham sadhuna karavam. Why did I not do the good things, correct things? Kimaham papa makaravam iti. Why did I do all the papa, all the wrong things? Like this person does not have any tapa. These two things do not trouble this person. Why? Because he sees all of them as only Paramatma. Paramatma bhavena he sees. Ubehye vaishayete atma naggas prinute. He sees them all as only Atma. He is the self of everything. Even Papa and Punya are all only Mithya. Their very existence is because of me only. My Atma, Satta only is there. So he sees, this Jnani sees everything as Atma Swarupa. So they are not able to touch this person. Etam habhavana tapati na bibheti kutaschana. Both are there in the same Vakya. He does not have any fear of anything. All these Shrutis are there. Then what? Smriti. Jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. In fact, this also is a very beautiful section in 4th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavan talks about many different kinds of yajnas, starting from dravya yajna, pranayama, like that, many things he says. Then he says, Shreyan dravyamaya yajna jnana yajno parantapa. Okay, sarvam karma akhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. So compared to all these dravya yajnas you do with different things, correct? Jnana yajna, jnanam is the best. Whatever effort you put in to gain jnanam, that itself is jnana yajna. Why? Because all this karma, they end only in this jnanam. Because you are no more a karta. Otherwise, there is no end to karma. Understand that karma and karma pala will keep on going as long as you look upon yourself as a limited individual. But all this karma comes to an end. Once you know you are the limitless, you are not a karta bhukta anymore. So sarvam karma akhilam, akhilam karma, sarvam karma, jnane parisamapyate, it ends in jnana. Then he says, api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. So even if somebody is a great papi, papebhyah papakrittamaha, he says, the one who has done papa amongst them, he is the greatest papi. Even such a person, okay, sarvebhyah papakrittamaha, amongst everyone, he is the greatest papi. He has done so much papa. But even such a person, what? Sarvam jnana plavenaiva. With this jnana as the plava, as the boat or whatever, he crosses. Even such a person can cross if he has this jnana. Vrijinam santarishyati, he crosses over all this papa, this ocean of samsara, papa. And then he says, yatai dhamsi samidognihi bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. So how does this samid means all this dry twigs and all that, fuel. So they burn. The Agni burns all these things. Similarly, Jnana Agni, the fire of knowledge, burns all the karma. Bhasmasat kurute. So it burns all the karma. Of course, the prarabdha has already started. But even the prarabdha, from the standpoint of the jnani, there is no karma or anything, because the jnani does not look upon oneself as a karta. That is the main thing. Although the body is continuing, vyavahara is there. So all these things are talking about this karma being not there for a jnani, even though we give an allowance for the prarabdha karma which has already started fructifying. So the Shruti and Smriti are all there. So whatever you say is not a problem for a jnani. Then we go into something called Avidya Sutra next, that we will see next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.